Rock 30, Bill and Jay's Excellent Podcast, with your hosts, Billy Quinton and Jay Odom. Our special guest this evening is Jerry Brewer. Let's roll.
All right, welcome to podcast number 36 on Bill and Jay's Excellent Podcast. I'm Billy Quinton.
And I am Jay Odom.
And this is episode 6 in season 3. And
Okay.
So we're cruising along. And we're excited to have Jerry Brewer here to join us as he is running for mayor. Give us a little info about Jerry.
Yeah. So he is running for mayor, McLendon-Chisholm.
Yes, sir.
You've got a little bit of history here, McLendon-Chisholm. You've actually been in Texas for quite a while.
Almost 40 years.
40 years in Texas.
Yes,
You were on McLendon-Chisholm City Council from 24 to 26.
correct.
Served as mayor pro tem, May of 25 to February 26.
Yes,
So
sir.
you've got that history and experience as well. And then 31 years history in law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I did my service as a police officer in Lubbock, the city of Lubbock. I was a military brat, so I moved around quite a bit. And I went to Ole Miss for my undergraduate.
Yeah.
And I got accepted to law school at Texas Tech. That's how I ended up in Lubbock.
Mhm.
And I went there the first year and said, that's not for me. And I started looking at other career options. I even looked at teaching. So I did substitute teaching to see if that's something I wanted to do. And 2 weeks at a junior high convinced me that's not what I want to do. So
Those kids can do that.
Oh man, I lasted 2 years and that was it. So I feel it.
You put 2 years in.
I put 2.5 years.
Your
and I was
teacher
like,
retirement
no,
ain't going to
I'm
be
out.
kicking in.
I'm out. It's a special person that can do that. Hey,
yeah. Oh, I agree with that. That's 100%. So I just happened to be walking in the mall there in Lubbock, trying to figure out my next option. And I saw a table from the Lubbock Police Department, and I walked up, talked to them, and signed up to take a test. And before I knew it, I was number 7 out of 300 people that applied and joined the academy on August 1st of 1988.
Jerry, I want to ask you, because I consider this movie a documentary. You went to the academy. So the movie Police Academy, is it pretty much exactly like
No.
you went through?
Well, I mean, you do have those types where they're in your face and, trying to get your attention for things. But no, it's actually what I tell folks. It's sort of like cramming 2 years of junior college in 6 months. Because it's all law intensive. You're studying the penal code. You're learning about defensive tactics, the physical side of things, getting in shape, criminal procedure, how to handle yourself in court. I mean, it's all jam packed in about 6 months. And then once you leave there, you're not done, because then it's another 20 to 24 weeks, depending on the program, you're in the field training. And so it's almost 9 months, 10 months before you're out on your own.
Holy cow. So there wasn't a guy there that made cool sound effects with
No,
his mouth. Okay.
no.
All right. I'm
Only in
disappointed.
Beverly Hills.
Disappointed to hear that.
So
Let's go back a little bit. Tell us
Yeah.
about your raising.
my raising? Yeah, sure. My dad and my mom were married in Indiana. They dad was going through college at Purdue University, becoming an aeronautical engineer, and also being in the Air Force ROTC program. And my brother or my sister and me were already born while they were going through school. Mom worked at nights and dad went to school during the day. And then they switched watching the kids when, my dad got into the Air Force after graduating from Purdue, and he learned how to fly a plane. So we moved down to Del Rio, Texas. He eventually went to Vietnam to fly as an O2 pilot, which is a FAC plane. It's like a prop plane. And his job, he had 2 little fire rockets, and his job was if troops need to be extracted, or if there was a bombing area that they wanted, he would direct the bombers to go wherever. But all he had literally was a grenade, a rifle and these 2 little stringer deals, and he was like flying treetop level stuff. Great guy. He knows. He's Mr. Fix It. He could fix anything. He knows everything. He worked at his dad's, my grandfather's garage, and knew how to fix things. And he's still alive today. He's doing well. He's down in Destin, Florida, living the dream. And
this is you in the middle here.
yes, yeah, that's me in the middle.
The red
Look
jacket.
at that. Obviously, you're a member of some country club at a young age.
Yeah. My sister there on the right is Barbara, and my little brother there on the left is Billy. He was born in Del Rio when Dad was going through flight training. Being a kid of a military family, we moved around quite a bit. And while my dad was after he finished his training, we kept getting moved around. But my mom, I think I was almost 5 there. And
there you go. You got choking up on the bat there a little bit.
Yeah. I wasn't that great of an athlete, but I did like to play baseball. And I'd have like a good year, and then I'd get moved up to the next level of the league, and then I'd have a really bad year. And then, usually I had the best year when I was the tallest of the kids there. So,
Sure.
But yeah, I always.
So what team is this? Has the A on the, I'm going to guess Angels?
Angels.
Right.
Yeah. That was in New Mexico when we lived in Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Okay.
You have been all over.
I've been to Alabama, Ohio, Florida, New Mexico, Texas twice. Del Rio when my dad learned how to fly, and then he came back later and was the major in charge of the flight wing in Del Rio. So when we left there, when I was in Del Rio the last time, I left as a junior in high school, and then I graduated as a senior down in Destin, Florida the next year. So about every 3 years we were moving around constantly.
So your high school was in Destin?
Yeah, actually it was Choctawhatchee High School.
Okay.
Fort Walton Beach.
My dad was Air Force.
Oh, yeah. So
I
man.
was little when we moved around. By the time he retired, we had settled, but I don't remember. We were in North Carolina, Georgia, and then Texas.
Mhm.
But then, but I'm going to ask you, being raised by, Air Force, what was your dad's rank, highest rank?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay, wait, my dad was Chief Master Sergeant, so it wasn't the same. But the discipline did you have? I knew that when we were growing up, I remember joking around, if I did something, I'm in trouble. And I'm asking, okay, is it Dad or is it Chief Master Sergeant at the house right now? Because you got to, get ready for how bad did I mess up? And so was that like that with you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was. I guess I'm kind of like him, or he's like me. It's I'm kind of reserved about it, but I can. It's usually about the look than anything else.
Yes.
I do remember one time my brother and I were playing around with BB guns, and one round accidentally hit his neck, and so my mom freaked out. And so she had us digging in the carpet to make sure it didn't go pierce into his throat.
Right.
But then the next thing was wait till your dad gets home.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And I had this trophy, and I was so worked up about it. I was gnawing on the trophy. I was like, I must have gnawed off all the paint or whatever, the plastic that was on there.
That is so weird that you pick a trophy to gnaw on. You're so worked up.
Yeah, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And
so now I had to go pick a switch when I got in trouble. Did you have to do that?
Did
you, Jay?
We did.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we had a big cutting board wrapped in red and black tape.
Ooh, that's high school coach.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right there.
It is.
And it always hung right there by the fridge.
Right.
And it was never used for any food or anything like that. It was, and so if that was grabbed,
you knew dinner was over.
Yeah.
We spanked our kids. We ended up using a ping pong paddle was our tool of choice when we spanked.
Lucky you.
Well, I mean, for our kids, that's what I used on my kids. Okay. And then come to find out, it's not a coincidence that my kids really like ping pong or never want to play ping pong. They don't want to be around ping pong, because it will scar you. Whatever tool.
PTSD.
Yeah, that is so funny. Yeah. But we have something in common there. The Air Force brats.
Yeah. And my dad, actually, he was up to be colonel, but he was going to have to transfer out to Korea.
Yeah.
And he said, nah, I ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
And so he retired from there, and then got a job with a couple different aeronautical contracting company, defense contractors, and worked on weapon delivery systems there in Florida.
That's good. Well, and my dad was stationed in Alaska for a little bit when I was young, and then came back. And then at one point, same thing. Hey, you're going to go back to Alaska, and he was like, "Nah, I ain't doing that again."
Yeah.
And he retired and worked civil service. Kind of stayed in the area. But yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's a different lifestyle, but so many people are familiar with it, when you do. And I think it's across the board, Army, Marine, whatever,
You hear the story over and over, and
Yeah,
they're very
yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
Now, how did you end up meeting your wife?
So Tanya is my wife. She's my second wife. We actually have known each other for 30 plus years. She was a prosecutor. She started off as a Lubbock County assistant district attorney, and then switched over to the U.S. Attorney's office there in Lubbock. And I actually, one of the things I did in my career was I was assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration as a task force officer. So I worked narcotics investigations, and we actually did a case together. This was before we even, went the other way with, a relationship. This was years ago. I remember Tanya is well known within the criminal defense attorney area because of how tough she is.
She does not look mean enough.
Oh no, you don't want to get in an argument.
Don't let the smile fool you.
That's right. I mean, she would indict. We'd have cases with 40 defendants, and she would indict them all at the same time and go to trial. I mean,
she don't mess around.
She doesn't mess around, and we actually did a trial together. It was based on a case where, and this was before 9/11. So there was this girl who came into the Lubbock airport with a backpack, and she goes through security. And back then, security at the Lubbock airport wasn't TSA. It was some rather retired folks sitting there, one looking at a machine and the other one with the little sniffer thing looking for residue. Well, the girl brings his backpack, it goes through the x-ray machine, no problem. Then the lady pulls out the little sniffer thing and starts doing that. And she's like, what are you doing? She says, well, I just got to check it. Well, the girl runs, right? So they don't know what to do. So they just start saying, and her name is LaShonda Wilson. LaShonda Wilson, you've left your bag here. LaShonda Wilson. So eventually the police department, the airport police show up there, and they open the bag and look. Well, there's about 9 pounds of crack cocaine.
Oh, wow.
And so they call us. I'm over at DEA. They call us to come over there. So I go over there, and I look at the bag, and her name's on the bag. And I think, this ain't right. This ain't right. I mean, nobody takes a bag with their name on it with 9 pounds of crack cocaine.
If lost, contact LaShonda 312.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I feel like her mom got a hold of it before she left. She goes, nobody's going to know who this is. So let me
You
put her
have
name
got to
on it.
label your bag.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and of course, the airport then had a camera system, but their video recorder didn't work. So the camera system worked, but the video recorder didn't work. So I ship it off and it comes back. Sure enough, there's a fingerprint on it. It belongs to LaShonda Wilson. So I start chasing her around. Well, I get a phone call from Shreveport, and she had been arrested there for doing the same thing, but with 2 others as well. Yeah. Well, all that to say, it ended up being a kind of a bigger conspiracy case. So we had to try that, and Tanya was the lead prosecutor. We had to try that down in San Angelo, Texas, which is the federal judge is based in Lubbock, but he had to travel to different cities periodically in his area. And so we had the trial in San Angelo, and we go down there, and Tanya is very, very meticulous with things. And she'll say, I may not be the smartest, but I outwork you. Mm-hmm. And so she'll go through everything, timelines. I had gone through and figured out FedEx purchases and stuff like that, where they were shipping some stuff, getting money and that kind of thing. So I had this calendar book, and Tanya has this witness list. And so I was sitting with her through this, and she had told me before, we got to go through each witness, make sure they're there, ready to go. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Absolutely do that. So we start going through the list, and we're about halfway through, and I am the last person on this list. I am the cleanup, right? I go in through and I kind of just put it all together. And we get about halfway through, and then she says, Your Honor, I call Sergeant Jerry Brewer up to the stand. And I go, and she goes, get up there now. And so I get up there, and then
preview of the marriage to come.
yeah.
Get the trash out.
I go up there, sit there, and then we're going through it, and then I have the big calendar book where I'm kind of going through, and she says, on this such and such date, what happened here? And on that date, and I'm looking, and I don't see anything on the calendar book, and I'm like, I don't see it. And then she goes, Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
He's pissing me off. Yeah.
And then she goes, right about there, and I'm like, oh, that one, yes.
She's reading it upside down, and she
right.
And so she and in the end, we ended up getting 2 life sentences on the main guys, and then LaShonda Wilson, who did not want to cooperate despite every reason to do so, got like 20 years. The one cooperator, I think, got 9 years out of it. But it was a good case because they were getting their dope from Amarillo, and then they were spreading it out to small towns like Lamesa and Tahoka, and setting up in these little hotel rooms, and these girls would be out there selling, prostituting and selling the drugs. But then they were also starting to move some of that dope that was coming up to Amarillo to Atlanta. And that's why they were in Shreveport on their way to there.
So when you tell people, like, I met my wife at a housewarming, you met at high school, you get to say, I met Tanya through a crack dealer.
Yes, that's right.
over a bag of crack.
Over a bag of crack, 9 pounds. And then we got together in court. You know? That's so great.
These guys here, tell us who these folks are here.
So that's my world right there. My daughter on the left is Elizabeth. She started off as an emergency room nurse, and now she's a mid-manager over nursing in Kaiser Permanente at their urgent care clinics up there in Denver. She's holding our newest grandchild, Dagny. She's 6 months old now. And then her husband, my son-in-law is Stian. He works as a videographer / editor / producer for the business that handles the Nuggets and the Avalanche.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So he does a lot of he's very talented.
Those are sports teams, Jay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
To confirm,
Jay's getting all confused, like gold nuggets. What's going on?
And then he's holding Finnick. He's the oldest. He'll be 5 in July. And then I'm holding next to him is his brother Soren. Soren is fearless. Soren will do anything. I mean, he just jumps, and then you got to be there to catch him.
He's about ready to jump on you.
Yes.
He doesn't like being still right there.
Yeah. And then me, and then Tanya. Yeah.
Wow, that is another coincidence. Jay, you can excuse yourself because my daughter's also a nurse, or was a surgeon. So we have all these things in common.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know why you're here, Jay. And so no, Jay's here because videography. His son-in-law does videography. Yeah. So there you go. Well, I'll bring it full circle. Circle of life, Jay.
Yeah.
Now, what is if you had to look back, and I'm sure there's plenty, but one of the proudest moments in law enforcement where you just felt like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I did good, and It felt great.
Yeah, and I think I may have given you a picture of it. When I retired in January 31st of, actually February 1st of 2020. And, we had, the retirement
You got a
ceremony.
street?
Oh, yeah, I got a street,
boulevard.
man.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
That is.
Yeah. I had my last full year there. For 6 months of it, I was the interim chief. And then I told the city manager I'd already made plans to retire. So I told the city manager, I'll help with whatever you want. So I helped him hire my boss at that point, and went through all the applications from across the country and helped them, because I think it's important to have a good replacement, when you leave. So, so when I retired, I wasn't expecting it, but then there was an editorial in the paper from the paper itself writing about my servant leadership in Lubbock and how it was good for Lubbock and it was good for the LPD. And that's what I was like, oh my, that just grabbed me.
Yeah.
Like somebody paid attention. I thought, I knew I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But, when somebody else who you weren't expecting.
To hear that.
Because, me and the media, we got along, but, there was always some stories that weren't great. And then there was, some that were.
They can turn on you in a second.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If they think there's a little blood in the water. Oh, my God, man. It's like, it's like, well, we like you personally, but this is too good of a story. We got to keep it on, and
That is cool.
And that was at a press conference. That's one of my favorites, Tanya's favorites photo.
You are all business right there.
Yeah.
A lot of drugs in Lubbock.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Okay, here's something that would be really weird and ironic. What if there's crack deals being made on Jerry Brewer Boulevard? What
very well.
you hear it over the radio? We got another crack dealer on Brewer Boulevard. Dang it.
Yeah, I know. That would be just that'd be horrible. I think it's
That is, look at that.
Oh yeah, that was
That's the earlier days.
That was my graduation day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. A little skinnier then, man.
We all are.
Yeah.
Great.
But
That is the epitome. So what year would that have been?
that was in 1988.
I was going to say that's an '80s cop right there.
Oh yeah, I had a Smith & Wesson revolver back then, and our class was the first class to have actually a security retention holster.
Mm.
What is that?
So what that means is if somebody tried to grab your gun out of your holster, it has a security feature. So all you do is just clamp it a little bit, and they can never pull it out.
Okay.
You can grab it easier than they can.
Yeah, you have to. It's a little bit of a cantilever.
You
have to kind of
learn
do
how
that.
it works. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was considered a big deal then, and because we were the first class to get that, and
that would have
no,
that would have been handy. I was in the Rotary Club for a long time, and of course we have police officers there, and they'll sit down and their back maybe to you, and we would like to when the police officer sat down, and I'm trying to remember who we did this to. We could just reach in and pull the pistol out, And,
You did that?
Oh yeah, during the speech, like they're not paying attention, you can just pull the gun out, or we put something into the holster, like knives and stuff inside of it, and then accuse them of stealing silverware when it was over
That
with.
could go real bad.
yeah, good.
Yeah, but they didn't have the retention holster.
That's right.
If they had the retention holster, I couldn't have got it.
I think that was the reason for
Right.
it. Right
I
there.
think Rockwell
so.
Rotary. Yeah,
Exactly.
probably. Yeah.
Now what's going on here?
So that's I was blessed to be able to go to the FBI National Academy. It was about 1% of police executives get the opportunity to go, and I got to go. So there they have a thing called the Yellow Brick Road. So it's at Quantico, Virginia. So it's on the Marine base there, and they have this obstacle course, and it's about 6 miles. And so you run it, you get through it, and then they give you the yellow brick.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that was 16 years ago.
Did you do the obstacle course now?
Much slower. Much slower. I'd probably have to have a little helping hand going over some of the obstacles now, but
Right.
yeah.
Somebody have a stool. I need a stool.
And hopefully I don't throw my knee out doing that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Something tells me I'd always need to show up. Did you always do the climb the rope?
Yeah.
I never mastered climb the rope.
That shocks me.
What?
No,
It is.
I'm being sarcastic. I could never see you make it into. I used to always panic because once you got to the top, you wouldn't know this, Jay. But once you
I
get to
got
the top
halfway
of the
down.
rope,
Are you talking about the burn?
not the burn, just that, like, man, we're way
Where
up
do you
here.
go?
Yeah, I can't fall from here. You know, I mean, that's a long way up. Now, I mean, you only made it halfway, which it's all right.
It's true. Okay, so now into politics.
All right.
Had you always thought of that through your law enforcement career, or how did this come about?
Yeah. So no, I hadn't thought about that. When I retired, I was like, oh, I'm done. We moved out here mainly because Tanya's mom lived out here, and she was dealing with Alzheimer's at the time. So, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live here in Rockwall as well. I don't know if you might know my brother-in-law, Rod Gregg. You ever heard of him?
That name sounds a little familiar. What's he do?
He makes weird stuff on Facebook, but he's the one that keeps talking about Grandy's all the time coming.
I
like
want
his
Grandy's
work.
breakfast.
I appreciate his work.
Yeah.
No,
I'm a fan.
he's a retired Garland officer, and he also worked at the FBI as well, and super great guy. But that's the reason we moved to this area. And I was happy doing traveling. I like to travel. And about in 2024, actually into 2023, I suddenly get this friend request from a Brian McNeil. And
Brian McNeil. Who is this?
And
I've heard things.
and prior to that, the city of McLendon-Chisholm was going through some issues with the RCH and the water supply.
And I want to get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. And so I would make some comments here and there because I could see initially when the water went away, it was like, yeah, the city should be involved. But as I was looking at it, I was like, man, the city's not ready for that. And so I'd make comments about it. And eventually Brian reached out to me, and then he just kind of talked to me, asked me if I'd consider running and for a council seat.
For what reason? Your history, your background?
Yeah, history, background, and just because I at least showed some interest in what was going on.
Leadership qualities.
Yes, okay. Yeah, and just seeing, showing an interest in what's going on in City Hall. Mm-hmm. Most people don't share that same interest unless there's a problem that comes up, right? So
behind the keyboard, first to complain, with no solution. And then where are they during a P&Z meeting or a city council meeting?
Exactly.
Nowhere to be found.
Yes. So I thought about it. I actually thought about it over Christmas. I wasn't like, I'm not really a politician type. I'm more like a technocrat / bureaucrat, if you really want to get into it. I have an idea of how things should run based on living in Lubbock, which is, almost 300,000 people now. And I had my department, I had 500 employees, and I wrote $70 million budget every year. So
you're in a bit already in politics.
Yeah.
With that type of.
Yeah. I spoke with council members all the time and stuff, but I always viewed it as that's just part of my job as a police chief, So after I thought about it, I said, well, yeah, let's do it. And so I ran. Trudy Wozner ran against me. And I won. And it was like 700 to 180, something like that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a pretty divisive.
What's the phone call like to her? Like, good job, you put in a good fight.
Right.
Well, she actually the day before or the weekend before early voting, she texted me and said that she found out when her son-in-law had a medical issue and that she was going to pull out of the race.
Oh.
But she's still on the ballot.
Right.
She does it the week, before. So I still had to run like she's on the
Right.
on the
So she
ballot.
could have taken her name off the ballot, but chose not to.
Early on,
Right.
I
At
see.
a certain point, you can't, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and then and so not everybody's up on when she put, on her Facebook stuff, or
Right,
know, and so you have to keep running, and so I was out there with Brian because he was running for mayor. I was out there every day at early voting, every day, just talking to people, and then we were still block walking and doing that kind of thing. Because I wasn't going to assume anything on that.
Yeah.
You know.
You never, ever know.
No,
Ask Donald Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
You never know.
On our last podcast, I told the story about a guy that ran McLendon-Chisholm, Patrick Short. I don't even know Patrick, and he had run, and I think it was McLendon-Chisholm, but he won by one vote. And he, at the last minute, went and asked a guy to go vote at the last minute, and the guy did, and that was pretty much because such low numbers for a McLendon-Chisholm race. Every vote is huge.
Yeah, well, the 24 election, that was the biggest turnout ever. That was I think all told mine was like 880 total votes, but for between me and Trudy, but I think for Brian it was a little bit more. It was like 930 or something like that. That was the biggest one to date.
So talk a little bit about the water issue, because you said at one point that the water would just stop. They would not get water. Residents would not get water at some point.
Yeah. So in July, I think it was 2022, I believe. It was like the day after the 4th of July. Everybody turned their water on and nothing.
Wow.
And what was happening was that RCH, the old board at the time, what they would do, they had an agreement with City of Rockwall for 2.1 million gallons per day. Well, during the summer months, I mean, they wouldn't tell anybody we need to, conserve or anything like that.
Right.
They would go over that. And for a while, Rockwall was fine with it. But then it got to the point where it was hitting 3 million gallons per day, and they just weren't able to keep up with filling the tank. And all of a sudden it was just turned off. And then the old board attitude was, well, you guys just need to stop watering for a while. You guys with big lots, you need to stop watering and all that. So there was a lot of ill will suddenly, and then a lot of interest in what was going on. And the good thing is eventually a new board came in. David Naylor is the president. He runs the multi-billion-dollar electric utility. So he may not have been familiar with water necessarily, but he is familiar with utilities.
The industry.
And, the good thing is in June 2nd, I think is the planned date, they'll have everything connected up directly to North Texas Municipal Water District, which is where all the cities get their water from. And it's going to go from 2.1 million gallons with the city of Rockwall to 9 million gallons right off the bat. So we're going to be fine.
Now, let me go. One thing that we've been discussing with several candidates, really for the last couple of years is the climate of politics.
Yes.
And the fighting and the anger and the name calling and all of that. A lot of that happened with this whole water issue.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was above many of our heads. Because you read something else.
Sure.
There's accusations that, these guys are in cahoots with the water company. These guys aren't. I remember watching one city council meeting, and a city councilman told someone in the audience to sit the F down.
Yeah.
Which surprised me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about fate unbecoming behavior.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like, would that qualify?
That would
I don't
qualify. Yeah. That
But
would
anyway.
qualify. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it was, can you help explain, like, if you were to say, here's what some people thought, here's what some others thought, and then your truth on it? Because I have a hard time deciphering, why are people telling each other to sit the F down about water?
Yeah.
Why were they? Why were they?
Yeah. So, on water, so the one side viewpoint was, now's the time for the city to get into the water business. And the thought was RCH would just willingly turn it over. And it seemed to be indicating that with the old board. When David Naylor took over, he was trying to, and the administrative staff just suddenly quit. He was trying to get help with running the system. So he went to who the city uses for sewer, which was Infomark. Well, he wasn't just turning things over to the city. fast enough, apparently, at all. And so what the city told, some people in the city told Infomark was, do not help with them. They were going to make it tough on them. And they kept trying to find ways to do a forcible takeover. There is a way to do it under 13.255 of in TCEQ code. But it came down to the city, for one thing, doesn't already have a water utility. The second thing was they could only take over what was inside the city limits. The water tower that RCH has is outside the city limits. That wouldn't be included. The other thing is that they weren't really being honest about was, if you're going to take over, even a forced takeover, you're going to have to pay that utility, which means we would have had to pay $12 million. Now, our annual budget right now is $5 million. So we would have to get a bond for that, which would raise property taxes, right? And that's before we did anything to do infrastructure improvements to bring in enough water, which is going to be about $35 million, I think is what they were looking at. So that was the one side. But, and I'm kind of divvy between the two, but really one thought that's the time for the city to do it. The other side was basically saying, we're not there yet as a city to be able to handle that. And so that's where the back and forth started going on that. My stance was, after I looked at it, was we are not ready to do this as a city. And if RCH is willing to do the things that they need to do to bring us the water, then why aren't we there helping them? Mm-hmm. Why aren't we there, if anything, getting out of their way so they can get it done faster? And in the course of it, those who wanted the city to take over started putting roadblocks, and then we were driving up legal bills with our water attorneys, filing all these applications with the PUC, TCEQ to try to get it. And in the end, it didn't work. But we spent $100,000 in bills, legal bills. I mean, and so,
when you mentioned that annual budget, $100,000 is not nothing.
No, when we could be using it for roads, right?
And wasn't there a miscommunication with, at one point you thought, or the people that wanted to take over thought they would just to be handed over, and then later on, well, no, you have to pay. You mentioned that. And wasn't that a surprise to a lot of people too, that was a wrench thrown into the works also?
Yeah. Could you say that question one more time?
Yeah, like I felt like I remember reading one time that at one point when you said the city wants to take over, they'll just hand it over to us. And so they thought, okay, great. And then all of a sudden later on, and you kind of mentioned it, then they said, oh no, you have to pay us for it. And so there was a number of people that thought this was crooked of the water company, that they threw in this cost all of a sudden. And
well, it wasn't so much that. If RCH wanted to put itself up for sale, that was fine. But what I was referring to was if the city did the forced takeover, we would have to compensate RCH. If it was just take our stuff, here you go, a friendly merger transfer, right? That wouldn't have been a problem.
But I would think I can't imagine that ever happening, that somebody was just going to say, here, just take it. You know, you're going to need to be compensated at some point. There has to be something down the road. Yeah. So it would seem to be a little naive of a lot of people thinking, they're just going to give it to us. We'll be good. Yeah. And so.
Well, and I think if the old board was really intent on wanting to do that, first of all, the old board can't decide that on their own. Either board, the new one or the old one. Anything that in regards to that has to be put up by a vote by the membership or by the rate, the people on the system. And there's RCH covers a good portion of the city, but they also cover a portion outside the city. Right. And you had people outside the city that weren't really trusting of what the city was going to do. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't feel comfortable with that. So you had that side as well.
And there's other companies that also supply water too, right? It isn't just RCH.
Correct. There's High Point, which actually covers City Hall and some of the developments that were just now coming in around City Hall. And then there's Blackland, which will cover the newest Sonoma Verde North development, which is going to be a Del Webb community. But that's in their certificate of necessity. the Sonoma Verde area is interesting in that that's kind of a no man's land. There's a section that's a no man's land. In other words, no water company has the exclusive certificate of convenience and necessity there.
Mhm.
And so when the city and RCH and the developer got together to create Sonoma Verde, they made this agreement that in the agreement, it was going to be the city would basically be in charge of the pipes. The developer would bring in the infrastructure. It was a PID, so they would do the infrastructure, turn over the pipes to the city. RCH would supply water through those pipes. And then if RCH or the city decided they wanted out of the agreement, it had to be by mutual acceptance. And if they wasn't a mutual acceptance, there had to be arbitration or mediation. And and there was no compensation for the city for the pipes, for use of the pipes by RCH in that agreement. I mean, it was all kind of
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
it was a kind of I think if they had to do over, they wouldn't have done it that way,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But I think at the time there was pressure to get a deal done, and I think there was some cross pollination going on between the city and RCH members and stuff like
The
that.
pressure was high, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you
Yeah.
think that's where the little seed of people are in cahoots with others
Yes,
starts?
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so you know, we go fast forward, and now the talk is after the water where the water stops, and there's an effort to try to take over, and that goes away. They can't do it. Then we have another effort. Now the effort was in the first year of my council, when I was on council, which Floyd was on there as well. The effort was, well, we know that D.R. Horton is willing to put a water pipeline for Blackland, and they can tie into the Sonoma Verde pipes from there. And we don't want RCH to be able to claim any ownership of those pipes, so or to use that to help finance for their project. And so there was an effort to try to I guess force a change to where they didn't want RCH to do anything for improving the water, but they wanted to rely on D.R. Horton and Blackland to do that water line. That way, the rest of the ratepayers wouldn't have to pay for the RCH's cost for doing this connection. And it got to the point where we had this vote where we were going to cancel the contract. That was the vote. Just cancel the contract. And you know, we knew they weren't going to cut the water off immediately if we canceled the contract. I mean, that was put out there. But the issue was, if you look in the terms of the contract, if one side's not wanting to do it, but the other side is, then you just have to go straight into mediation. Well, you know, they didn't even try to even start that. They just wanted to cancel the contract. And then I asked for, well, give them time to respond at least. Don't make it immediate, you know. And so eventually, I think it was Mike Easter who put in there a 60-day period. So they did, and they made the vote. I voted against it. Floyd voted for it, as did the others. It was a 4-1 vote. And then 60 days later, nothing's changed, except for RCH now is worried about being accused of some sort of a trespass if they have to go on to the pipes and stuff. So then they file a lawsuit.
They're getting lawyers involved.
Yeah, to enforce the terms of the contract.
Mhm.
And then now we're spending more money.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in the end, those 4 are no longer on the council. And the new council that came in said, well, we're not going to cancel this contract. So they revoked it. And then now we're working fine with RCH.
Okay.
So
One more thing I want, before we head forward, which is where we really want to go,
Yeah.
what the plan is. But you know, this was has been such a hot topic, is of course development, especially
Sure.
somewhere like McLendon-Chisholm. D.R. Horton, Muck and Stern, Frank New, who supported, who was in cahoots. There's the name
There you
D.R.
go.
Horton. How do you respond to development, and why that was another source of such you know, people being very divided
Oh, sure. Sure.
and that kind of thing. That was
Well, in my stance on development's always been for McLendon-Chisholm, we always talk about the rural feel, but I think it's more about just spacing. And D.R. Horton has a reputation for tract homes where they're like very close, 5-foot lot lines and that kind of thing. It's very mass density. Whereas, McLendon-Chisholm, I feel like is more of, we have acre, we have half acre, we have a third acre. Sonoma Verde is even smaller than that in some spots. But it's very high end. We want it all to be high end with some green space and that kind of thing. Something in the middle. D.R. Horton, there's no like green space unless it happens to be a floodplain or something. It's very, very tightly there. But what makes them attractive to some people is the money they can bring. So if we're chasing after property taxes or permit dollars, D.R. Horton is the moneymaker for the city, right? And so you look at the short term and say, yeah, we're getting all this money for permits and all this, and hey, they're going to pay for that water line for Blackland, and we're that'll help us in the city with some, and they want to do a fire contract with us, and so we're going to have a fire department that's going to get a brand new building, and we'll be able to get some money off each house that's being built out there. And it all sounds attractive, especially for some, because they're looking at their budget. Like I said, our annual budget's $5 million a year. Our property tax rate is 9.23 cents per 100. We're among the lowest in the state. Low. That is very low. And 29% of our revenue comes from permits from houses. And so when you look at that, that's why there's this interest in having more denser housing, right?
If D.R. Horton's going to build a new house, what's the approximate cost they would pay in permitting? Just a rough. Several $100.
Oh yeah, several $100. Yeah.
So you do that times each.
And here's the thing too. There was a developer agreement with D.R. Horton before they pulled out of it, and in that they wrote the agreement to say we're going to inspect our own homes. We're not going to be paying any fees. I mean, they did a separate fire contract that's going to give us a firehouse.
Because it was county?
It was ETJ, and some of it was out in the county.
Which only city can inspect homes, is that correct?
Correct. And that's why there's usually like an interlocal agreement between the county and the city to do those kind of things, because the county doesn't have that capacity. And so,
or legal right, is that correct?
I think so. I'm not going to swear to that one.
So the battle then is quick fix versus let's look down the road.
Yes. Yeah. And what are we going to get at the end of that?
Exactly. And we know many communities that have gone down that path that ends up being not the best of developments in communities 20 years from now. And now you got to deal with that down the road. And everybody forgets about the quick money that came in originally.
Exactly. And then before you know it, it's, as I say, not to disparage the city, but, we don't want to be a Forney 2.0.
Exactly.
And, you bring in, if you're wanting 6 houses per acre instead of our standard acre, I mean, you're packing it in, right?
Forney just exploded.
Exactly.
Right.
And that puts stress on your infrastructure, that puts requirements to, if you were planning on having a police department, because we don't have one currently, if you weren't planning on that for the next 10 years, guess what? You're going to have to do it sooner.
Yeah, sure.
And you got to pony up the money up front with that. And who do you get that from? The rest of the taxpayers.
Well, and that's what Rockwall went through it. And I think they made good decisions going through that. But you have to have people standing up and not giving in and saying, no, let's keep our focus on the future and not do this. I think Roy City's going through that right now. It looks like Fate is going through that, and then throw in McLendon-Chisholm. And these are decisions that down the road, you don't want to be somebody, if you're still there 20 years from now, and I'm like, didn't you just think it was a good idea to do this and this? And I'm like, man, at the time,
you cannot be weak.
We needed money.
You cannot be weak-kneed.
No, you can't. You have to stand firm, and it's hard because then you're going to get labeled as elitist at times and things like that, I think.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And so, and Rockwall had that, but it's worked out.
Yeah.
You know,
I think what a lot of people don't realize that haven't done anything on a board or, of course, city council, anything like that in a city is, in my couple of years on Rockwall Planning and Zoning, the pressure you feel from outside forces for certain votes.
Mhm.
I don't think anything ever improper was ever done,
No.
but the pressure is there.
Mhm.
You're told you're going to get sued.
Mhm.
You better look at this. And then it starts, at some point you're like, they need us. We don't need them.
Yeah.
And if they want to sue. We're
Yes.
here to protect
Mhm.
the city of Rockwall. And
Yes.
so, but there was
That's a good
very
point.
much that feeling of you kind of need to know how this is supposed to go.
Yes.
Have you witnessed that?
Yeah.
Or is that just me?
No. Well, I
My
mean,
weak knees. I don't know.
yeah. So I always fall on what does the agreement say? If we're doing a planned development and the developer comes in and says, I'm going to give you, castles and rainbows and all this stuff, and then they end up selling the property to somebody else because they weren't able to do it, but that planned development agreement's still there, that's still binding. What does that agreement allow for, and what does it not allow for? We've gone through this now with the 7-Eleven. We're having a 7-Eleven built at 550 and 205. And the thing about the 7-Eleven is in the planned development, because P&Z voted, their recommendation was to not approve the 7-Eleven. They didn't want the 7-Eleven. And it came to council because we're the final approver on that stuff. I looked through the agreement, the planned agreement, and it had specific businesses that would be included, and it had specific businesses that would be excluded, but it also had a clause that's saying any businesses, basically any businesses within our general business regulations that's approved of, that's allowed, plus these extra things are allowed. Well, in there, it was convenience store with gas pumps was allowed. So then we have this developer coming to us and saying, yes, the site drawing is different, but I want to put this business within the area of what I'm doing, what I own now. And according to this document, I can do that. And, I got phone calls from P&Z saying, you shouldn't allow it. You need to make them come back through and redo the whole site plan. And I said, but when I read the law back, I said, why, how do I answer to this? Because it's saying you can have convenience stores with gas pumps. And the answer, I couldn't get an answer back because it's in the writing. I mean, that's the agreement. You have to go by the letter of the agreement. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then we are subject to being sued. I mean, to me, that was a black and white issue. So yeah, I don't like the idea of having to vote against P&Z because they're volunteers like us and they have a hard job too. But this was more about protecting the city than anything else when I looked at it. Mm-hmm. And so, and the rest of the council members, for various reasons, felt the same way. And so we overrode P&Z and allowed the 7-Eleven. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this. We put in a business overlay district. I'll give credit to Councilman Towery for this, which enhances landscaping requirements and some other things. And the look of the buildings, the lighting and all that. This is going to be the nicest 7-Eleven ever. They didn't have to follow it because they were grandfathered, but they are following it. And so it's going to be the nicest looking 7-Eleven you've ever seen. And I get it. Some people don't like the idea of having a corporate presence in a small town, but that's a busy intersection. 26,000 cars go through there every day. And I appreciate the fact that we have the developer and the 7-Eleven Corporation was willing to work with us on the look of it. Yeah. So for me, it was just down to what's in the agreement that was agreed to. Now, what can we learn from this? Well, we can learn that maybe in the future, in another planned agreement, if somebody's selling us castles and rainbows and all that, that's specified and that's it. We don't include the catch-all, anything else that's allowed under the general business regulations. And that would end that. Or we put an expiration clause. If you sell this property, it reverts back to previous zoning, that kind of thing. but it's something we can learn from and maybe work on. But at that moment, I had to go by what was on paper. And that's my whole career is what's on paper. And that's what I did.
The law.
The law. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for many, many, many years.
Yes.
How often we're a city councilman, and we'll talk about why you're not in a second. You're in a small community. Y'all are, at the very beginning stages of a lot of things that a lot of others like Rockwall or Heath have already gone through years ago. How often do you talk to other city council members or former city council members that may have gone through it at the time that you're at and say, hey man, walk me through this. Give me some of the, danger zones that we need to avoid. Have you ever talked to anybody else?
Not in depth, other than I've talked with like Scott Dotson, who's the mayor pro tem. He got on Heath City Council at the same time I came on.
Okay.
So we talked here and there a little bit about things. And then the county commissioners, like John Stacy used to be in Fate. And so I learned quite a bit from him, actually, just talking to him when I was at they were doing a town hall about the next thoroughfare plan for Rockwall. So then he was telling me some things about what he went through in Fate and bringing in a police department and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I've talked some, and I still have contacts in Lubbock. And so
you can talk to them. Yeah.
I've noticed some of the mayors have been meeting.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think Judge New and Brian were kind of spearheading through that, and that's the way you solve problems. Is you just sit down, and a lot of the lawsuits that were going on between Heath and our town over the Huffines deal, that's gone away. I mean, it's more about just talking through the issues and realizing we have some of the same problems, so let's work together and figure it out.
All connected there.
Yeah.
I like that.
And we're a small county, and in some cases you could say we're just a big city that's a county. But we all have to get along, and we can solve our problems if we're communicating, and if we're there with all the best intentions in the world. And I think I've met Mayor McClure and Mayor McCallum. I haven't met Mayor Greenberg yet, but I certainly will. And
or you can watch the previous Rock 30 podcast
right.
that had Mayor Greenberg on.
Yes.
As we do a self-promotion in the middle of one of our podcasts. That's a great point, because I think when you look, I don't think a lot of us, I don't at times, look at the county that, as the county, it's very important that the communities in the county, McLendon-Chisholm, Heath, Fate, Rockwall, to a degree, a little bit of Rowlett, all that thing, that reflects on the county too. And the county wants these best decisions made for each community. And when you go to McLendon-Chisholm, and you could say, and it's hard, but you could say, okay, if we do the D.R. Horton homes or something similar, and we get all these people in, is that going to attract people to our community 20 years from now? Probably not. That's probably going to be a community that they're going to avoid 20 years down the road, and we don't want that.
Well, and here's the thing. I think D.R. Horton, because they can do smaller size developments where the houses are a little bit nicer. They're not spaced apart. They're capable of doing it, but they're a corporation that's traded on the stock market, and so it's all about the money part of it. And but if they wanted to, they could do it. But you're right. When you drive through a town like that has that, you're like, I just want to keep going till I find the next place.
Right.
And so,
If I'm looking to move in the area, I know where I'm not going, and that's that. A certain place, because you're like, that's not what I'm looking. I don't want to be crowded. I don't want most people don't want that, and so it's a tricky deal, and it gets personal. It gets and that's the thing about politics. I think right now that we're at is, it seems like back in the day when things got personal, you still kept it at bay, to a degree. Now it's all out.
Especially
social media.
Between conservatives.
Exactly.
It's crazy how it's
within the parties, within
Well, and it's amazing to me, even within the Republican Party, how it's turned. It used to be local control was a big deal in the Republican Party.
Right.
Now it's changed, and it's kind of odd to see, how the forces who want affordable housing get together with the big developers, who then put the pressure on the legislature. And now it's like, well, local control Yeah, the
And
problem
that's a
is the
big
problem
concern.
is the problem.
You
That's
know,
what they're saying.
and what's dangerous and why that vote is, I think, specifically a dangerous potential to go through and take a lot of power away from municipalities is you've got people who are on the Democratic side saying, that you're not allowing people to have cheap housings. So they get that vote. And then you got the Republicans with all the, working with the big developers who are like, yeah, I think that is a good idea.
Mhm.
And so you kind of getting both sides who can get something from it.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people who work for cities are thinking all of our rights are slowly being taken by the state, which is funny because the state is always worried about their rights being taken by
Right.
federal. So it trickles down.
And it put no and it they put a lot of pressure on cities to, okay, you expect us to fix the roads. We want to fix the roads, but if if our tax rate, we can't go above 3.5%. If there was a sudden need, we have to go to the voters about it, which is fine if it's a big project. But if it's just maintenance stuff, I mean, they make it so tough to where you're like, okay, a municipal utility district is perfect because they can handle all that stuff on their own. I mean, it's like they're forcing to the creation of MUDs by taking away the authorities of the city,
Right.
and from ability to raise revenue to regulating, and so it's like this concerted effort to just take cities out of it, and then before you know it, we're just waiting on Austin to tell us what to do.
That's right.
Good luck with that.
And then and that's the whole point of cities is every city is different.
Yes.
Rockwall is going to be very different from Mesquite, but if you've got these blanket state laws,
exactly,
that's dangerous.
Well, we talked about that, I think, during our meet and greet back, when we're talking to the people running for the state education board, and how, hey, the way you teach and the way you run a school district in Del Rio is different than you do one in Rockwall. They need certain things that we don't, and vice versa. And cities are exactly like that. You can't, run McLendon-Chisholm the same way as you run Frisco. And those are two different worlds. But we're getting to that, and we're also getting political parties that are going away from their core values. The Democrats were always the ones carrying the flag for free speech, and now, boy, they want to censor you left and right. If it offends me, then you can't say it. And I feel like Republicans are doing that too with what you're talking about. We're getting away from our core values just for other reasons than what should be for moving forward with all these things.
Yeah, and I will say there was a local Republican convention. And one of the items on their platform that they want to submit up to the national or to the state Republican convention is a return of local control.
Yeah, good.
And so I think
That's
people
good to hear.
Yeah.
I think there's always extremes to one side or the other, and I think we've hit the extreme to the other side, and I think people are saying we need to take a step back a bit because this is getting to be too much of a train that's going to be flattening these cities.
I want to talk about what you have planned, what you see for the city of McLendon-Chisholm. And
first of all, I just enjoy Jay adding an M to the end of McLendon-Chisholm. It's McLendon-Chisholm.
I've said that for my wife said, before you do this podcast, learn to say the city right. I'm sorry, it will forever be
I looked it up. There's no M, but Jay keeps throwing an M in there. But so anyway, no, that's
just
fine.
I've said it for the 25 years up. McLendon-Chisholm.
There you go. Look at you. It's like Garland education. We can't get past it.
It's the Garland in me. You can't take the Garland.
So this after Floyd and Paul Day and Dan Tucker left the council, Mike Easter left a couple months later into his second year of his term. We both got elected the same year. We have a bunch of new people in there, and they were all frustrated with what was going on with RCH and just the fighting that was going on the dais, and so they came in there. Eric Towery, Don Goodwin, John Powers, eventually Rich Dean, and then Dennis London all got on the council, and it's all about the work. That's all we make a point of keeping everything about the work and even if we disagree on stuff and that happens, we're still friends. We still talk to each other afterwards. It's just, you take the boat and you move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to, we worked so well this past year. I just want to keep the momentum going. And that's why I agreed to go ahead and run to be mayor, which was never in my picture or anything I wanted, people who know me would know that.
How's Tanya dealing with it?
She's my biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And she's proud of me, and she pushes me. And then, sometimes I'll say, man, I don't know if I should have done this. And then she says, well, you signed the paperwork. So,
and what you told me before, she walks in and goes, look right here. You said you were going. Yeah.
But it is hard on the families.
It is. I mean, you have to go out in the evenings because you want to talk and knock doors and talk to people. But there's just so many good things. I mean, one of the things that they did, or one of the things that I worked on this past year, the first year I was there, I worked on the city charter. We got our charter passed after 4.5 months of working on it, which is a record because I've seen some cities that take 2 years to do it. And we had that passed. And that's why, I had to resign when I did, because we had a charter now, because we had put that resign to run provision in there. But the second year, I really focused on there. We have a neighborhood called Glen Acres. It's one of the oldest neighborhoods. When they were approved, that was back when asphalt roads were the thing, not concrete roads. Mm-hmm. And they would literally have, over the years, that base would erode. And so they'd have like asphalt parties, and their neighborhood would be expected to take care of their own roads, in which, they did the best they could. But over time, that just they couldn't keep up. In fact, we even found minutes from 1987 when they went to the city council to ask they were willing to pay for it all, but they needed the council the city to help contract the contractor to do it, because it's only 36 homes. And so, they were, and they weren't being helped then. And every year the HOA president would come up before the council and say, I'm back again. We need some sort of help. And, it's a privately owned road. The city can't help you. And they weren't even trying to figure out a way. So
real quick. So you had a neighborhood or community had to build or fix their own roads.
Yeah, we actually had, we only had, when I came on council, we only had 2 neighborhoods that the city was actually responsible for their roads.
That's funny.
Well, early on when the city was like 300 people,
they
were like, okay, you want to build in our McLendon-Chisholm, you can, but HOA, you're responsible for the road.
Right.
And so that was and this particular neighborhood, that was when HOAs were just starting to even come up. And so the developer sold those lots before the HOA was established. Mm-hmm. And so it was completely voluntary to fix the road from those people, because there was no enforcement piece of it.
We know what guys are like when you get to go to work on stuff. They're going to be trying to outdo the other guy. No, you ain't going to go there. We got to do this. Let's go 360 on that. It's just, I just can't imagine,
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I worked that ordinance, and I basically borrowed it from Heath. Heath had one. They did it for one neighborhood. So I took that one, and then I working with our interim city manager at the time, Bev Stibbins, we just kind of worked out. I had what I wanted. She wanted to add some things. So we made it a little tougher. But there's 3 parts to it. Basically, if the road's in great shape, we'll assume your reserves to make sure that it's going to be in great shape for at least the next 6 months or so. And we'll accept the road. If there needs to be repairs, and the repairs are beyond what the HOA is capable of doing, we'll work out a financial arrangement with them. Now, it's very broad. It could be a loan if it's a small amount, or it could be a PID that we create for them, a public improvement district. But it's very whatever fits for that size neighborhood, because, a PID works great for 1,000 homes or 100 homes. But it doesn't work so great for if it's an 18-home subdivision, because the costs are just astronomical. Mm-hmm. So, and then there's a third part of it, which is if you were an approved subdivision with an asphalt or gravel road, and it becomes a public safety issue, then we speed up the timeline. We have 2 years under the previous 2 provisions to do it. we have under this 6 months if we accept the petition and the financial agreement. So Glen Acres was our first test case on this. And it was going to cost about $730,000 to do a new asphalt road. And we could do asphalt. That was the other part. If you had an asphalt road to start with, we'll fix your road as an asphalt road instead of a concrete road. And because of the cost. We worked out an arrangement where they're on the hook for 75% up front. There's an assessment on each property. There's a lien on each property. The 25% that the city is putting up is diminished somewhat because their property tax, they're property owners too, so their taxes are paying into that as well. Also, we set up a loan program for some of the more elderly folks there that they can pay up to 20 years at a 3.6% interest rate, pay it back to the city. And so that 25% goes down even more, and the property values start going up. So I got a text after we finished the road. I got a text, and I should say this, Glen Acres, they were to the point where school buses refused to go down there. Meals on Wheels refused to go down there. Ambulances that sometimes they would have to stop at the top. It's like a mile of road. Stop at the top and walk down with their little carrier thing.
Oh my!
To get there. It would take 5 to 10 minutes to go a block because of the road. Wow. Yeah, it was a horrendous situation. So after we fixed the road, we got it asphalted. We did a really heavy duty concrete mix for the base and thick asphalt. I got a text from one of the residents, and they said, today was the first day I've seen kids out riding bikes. I've seen neighbors getting out walking their dogs. And there was an elderly man who was in an electric wheelchair who never left his house. Knew of him, but never saw him. He was out today enjoying the day.
That's great. Here's the great thing about city politics.
Yeah.
You can see these changes in your life, you know.
And that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah.
You know, those are those tangible things that come up that you just like, okay, I'm doing it right. So.
Yeah. And we talked about this before. The local politics, you see it immediately almost. You know, federal, even state, it's way down the road. You know, but this one, you talk to the people that it's affected, and that's why you're in it. That's why you want to do it.
Yeah, and then they've been told for years that the city couldn't do it. And I remember having a conversation with one person in that neighborhood, and I just said, I don't know what the solution is, but we'll figure something out. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what the solution was, but I figured it out.
That is awesome. I love that.
And we have a council that was supportive of that because they recognized that if we can bring up every neighborhood, it just brings up the whole city as well. And one of the properties there was actually trying to sell their house. They couldn't sell their house. They ended up selling it later after the road was fixed for an additional $100,000.
Wow.
For the price of the house.
Yeah.
So the city's making some money off.
So you got some roads fixed and you improved this neighborhood immensely, and you didn't have to do a bond. You didn't
Correct.
Have to,
So I'll explain how we did that. So there was we have a reserve account. We have reserves, and by ordinance, we're only supposed to keep up to 40% of our annual budget in reserves. We had 110%. It had just been sitting there for years. Nobody's touched it. It's taxpayer money. Mm-hmm. We got needs we need to address. We got roads we got to fix. Mm-hmm. And so it was Glen Acres, but it was also roads that we own directly or are responsible for directly, like Smith Road. We're about finishing up that project. Pawnee Road, finishing up that project. And we also refurbing an old firehouse building to be used for office space for our codes and public works person. Mm. And so, you're
actually doing things.
We're doing things.
I like that.
I mean, when we have that kind of money, you just don't sit there. Yeah, it's nice to get interest, but we got needs that we need to address. And will we be able to do that every year? No. But what we can do is we fix these roads, and now we can set up a maintenance program and be vigilant about making sure that road is up to par every year instead of, hacking the budget out of roads because we want to do something else. Well, then you put off maintenance for that year, and then it becomes 2 years or 3 years. And then before you know it, you get a complaint about it. And then we're having to redo the whole road again. That's
like
just insane.
the state and county could learn something from this
Right.
situation.
So,
I might cut that bit out.
so if you're elected mayor, what's some things that you would want to do? What's some?
Yeah. So one of the things is, and it goes back to development and residential development, really even commercial development too, is when a developer comes to us and we say, okay, we like this idea for residential development, and then the practice has been they'll send us the developer agreement. We don't write it. They write it, send it to us. And then we're having to go through and see what they were slipping in, what they were leaving out. And ultimately what happens is we'll get so focused on one thing. Like for me, it's always about how thick you want that concrete. And our regs, it's 7 inches, with lime, maybe 8 inches of concrete. But what they always try to say, well, in DFW, they don't do it that way. Well, this is McLendon-Chisholm, and we have our reasons. But we get so focused on that, there may have been other things that we would expect from a developer, but we don't focus on that because we're arguing about this. And so from a negotiating standpoint, I say we create our own standardized development agreement and say, this is it. And if you want to change something, Mr. Developer, you come in there and you can redline what you don't like. But we know, and we can talk about those particular issues, but we know everything else in that development agreement is what we want. And so I think you start that way.
Not getting pushed around by these big developers.
Yeah, exactly. And, the roads, I talked about the roads. I think one of the issues that's come up is the fire service contract. There's some folks that aren't happy that the McLendon-Chisholm, because we have a big area to cover and half of our calls are outside the city. It's a complicated issue, but I'm fully engaged with talking with the county about trying to up their contribution. But we get like $164,000 a year. And some people want more than that, or they don't want us to service outside the city limits. But here's the thing. Every fire department in Rockwall County needs each other right now because together they still don't have the equipment that Rowlett has. And so we have brush trucks. He may not have that brush truck. They may need that brush. So we have to have these mutual aid deals. So even if we pulled out of the agreement by ourselves, then it's going to be, well, we have mutual aid. We don't want to lose that because we need that ladder truck from Rockwall.
You got to buy one for $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're still going to be responding.
Well, right? Horton's going to give you a free firehouse. So, I mean, you can use that.
No, in addition to learning how to properly pronounce McLendon-Chisholm recently, one of the things I recently learned is there is no school and no police department in McLendon-Chisholm, which kind of rocked my world. I guess I knew that, but I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. What's the plan? How that's going to have to change?
Right? Yeah. Well, on the school front, the city doesn't have a lot to do with how the school dictates what they want to do with their bonds.
Yeah.
But Mayor McNeil's had some great conversations with the superintendent. There's a plot of land in Sonoma Verde that's supposed to be for a school that's still vacant. Although, the home builders say there's going to be a school someday.
Came in with the rainbow package.
Came in with the rainbow package.
They love to throw in parks and schools.
Yeah.
And there's another piece of land that the school district owns as well that I think they want to do a middle school with. My view is when they start the discussions for a bond, I'll certainly be in there and advocating for McLendon-Chisholm because the growth is there. Everything's moving there. And I think it justifies it. But in order, the last bond election, not the Vader, but the one before that, was voted down by 60% in McLendon-Chisholm. You know why? Because the school was not going
I
to, we weren't going to get a school.
Right.
I see. Well, yeah, I get that.
Right,
I'm
right.
like,
You're already being left out.
here's
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
here's $1 billion for you guys, but
Right. Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So and you know those school bonds are voted by everybody in the county. So it's not like if McLendon-Chisholm likes the package and Rockwall doesn't. It doesn't really matter. It's a matter of what the whole vote is in the end on that. Even if we wanted to vote for it or wanted it to happen. So for me, it'd be advocating for the city to make sure we have a school because we want families there. You know, it's important to be able to go there, and it's safer, you know, to be within a mile or two of your house than having to drive 6 miles to take 30 minutes to get there and all that. So, you know, I would be advocating for that. And on the police department front, I mean, I was asked about that when I got elected in 24. And I said, back then, I said, we're not there yet. I said, police departments are expensive. All right. It's not just a police officer with a uniform and a patrol car. You got to have a building. You got to have a reporting system. You have to have the training. You're going to have to you're wanting a full police department, so you're going to staff it for about 7 to 10 officers at minimum to start with, and an evidence room. I mean, there's the cost. They in 2022-3, I think they passed an ordinance authorizing a police department. And then they started looking at the numbers, and it was going to be, I think, $1.5 million the first year, and then $3 million a year after that. Now, as I told you, our budget's $5 million. So during the campaign, there were some folks putting out there that I wanted to raise taxes and create a police department. I guess eventually, you know, come back to being a chief. You know,
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah. So I posted a video explaining that's not the case. And the funny thing is, I got a call from the director of TCOL. TCOL is the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Standards. All right. And they go in, there was a city, I think Point City or whatever, where the police chief there and they had 900 people in the residence, but they had a police chief and like 20 reserve officers there. And basically the police chief was running a security company. He just needed the commission from the city to authorize them to be a police officer, to have those authorities of arrest. Right. Mm. And so, they went in there and had to help the mayor shut down the thing because the police chief refused to do it. And people had left the council. So he was saying, there aren't enough of y'all to fire me anyway. So TCOL ought to go down there. But anyway, the director of TCOL calls me and he says, I saw your video. And he says, I wish every city under 10,000 would see that video. Mm-hmm. He said, the legislature is looking at the fact that, you know, when those size cities can't handle the liability that comes with owning a police department or running a police department. He said, over 10,000, you know, we'll help them get there. TCOL will help set it up and all that kind of stuff. But under that, we try to discourage it. Yeah. It's just because of the cost, the liability, and we're just not there. But what we can do in between that is kind of what Fate started out with was we can hire a deputy from the sheriff's office. If we feel there's a need, we can do that. We have to pay the equipment costs up front, and then it's just personnel compensation the next year. So it's like $280,000 the first year, and then I think $160,000 after that per deputy. And we can start with one with like doing 10-hour shifts 4 days a week on particular times, but they're assigned to McLendon-Chisholm. And if we like it, we can get another one.
So it's kind of just an intro.
And I was going to ask you, because I would assume you can use Fate as a blueprint a little bit on how to do this. And so 10,000 is basically the line that you're looking. What's the population of McLendon-Chisholm?
7,200.
Okay. All right. So you're getting there. And it could grow pretty quickly in the next few years.
Yeah. Well, in 10 years, we'll be at 19,000.
Golly.
So, so I'm saying in probably 5 years, we start having some serious discussions. But what we can do instead of starting from zero is we add the deputy, maybe a second deputy, maybe a third at some point, and we start building that budget line item in the budget, and we have that incorporated in there as we grow. And that way, when we say, well, all right, we're going to have to bite the bullet and create a police department, we at least have something to start with operationally on the money front. and we'll still have to do a bond for a new station and that kind of stuff. But we're not starting from zero. And
you talk about this kind of growth that's coming up. The leadership that's needed right now in these next few years is more important than ever.
yes,
I mean, this is where I feel like the things that happen to certain cities we talked about, it's in those crunch times where bad decisions are made.
yeah,
And it sounds like you're at that spot.
yeah. Oh, yeah. We're we are at that spot. I mean, because between the developments that have been improved and stuff, the developments are going to be here. So our thinking of the council's current thinking, and mine too, when I was on there, was, all right, let's look ahead and let's start planning for that. Stuff as small as Airbnbs. We have 3 in McLendon-Chisholm, not a lot, right?
Yeah.
But we recognize that at some point we're probably going to have more. So let's put some regulations where we can make sure that we don't have,
6 in a row.
6 in a row. We have like separation of 1,000 feet. You have to be 1,000 feet. And if there's a loud party, you've seen the stories and all that.
We've had one of those.
We have to there has to be somebody that can show up within 30 minutes.
Okay.
Or they revert lose their permit. And they can't do it. So it's little things like that. It's just preparing for what's coming and being smart about it. We don't have to, we know at some point we're going to need a police department. We don't need it today, but we can start preparing. We can start preparing.
Where do you feel that you are a better candidate than than Floyd?
What I tell people is we shared a year together. So you can see what I did and what he did. What I did was I pushed for the charter, and I shepherded that through. We got the commission put together. I was the one in the background getting all the materials for them. I was putting the agendas together for them. I was there. I was putting in about 30 hours a week trying to get their stuff. And to their credit, they met every 2 weeks and they were about doing it. I was involved in committees. I served on the Emergency Services Committee with the county. I think it's the corporation, Emergency Services Corporation, and represented the city there. I served on the Town Hall Committee. We had at least 5 or 6 town halls just on the charter, and then we had like 3 or 4 others all in the course of a year. My first year there. My opponent never served on a committee, never put out an ordinance, never did a resolution. And, at times it seemed he was just there filling the seat, and he'd make a vote, but most of the time he would never make a comment about anything. I always research and prepare for those meetings because I don't want to be flat-footed. So I'm reading up on everything and asking questions and all that. And 9 times out of 10, he wouldn't say anything. So I think I've demonstrated, an interest in being there. I think that's one of the things is you by your actions, right? And the fact, I could sit up there and just answer, vote yay or nay and not do anything else. But I think it's, you're expected, if you're going to do this job, you're expected to be out there and doing the job. It's about also helping your fellow councilmen. If they have a passion project, like mine was the roads, the road ordinance, I had some help with that from the other councilmen. But I know like Councilman Goodwin's big into trails and doing like a interconnecting trail system with a park and all that kind of stuff. I'm all about helping them get there. I don't know how we'll get there, but I'm all about being a part of that and whatever I can do to help them. And I think everybody that's on the council now feels the same way. And like I said, that's why I agreed to run, because the momentum is there to do some great things. So
we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Great.
I appreciate it.
You have anything else, Jay?
I'm going to put you in the hot seat
Okay.
because, as we know, the mayor is in the room with us.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I know he's been a great influence, and I know you probably learned a lot. My question is, what are some of the greatest things you've learned from him and watching him be mayor, and what might you do differently from also watching what he's done?
What would you do different as he sits right over here?
What would you do better? Look at him; he's on the edge of his seat.
Well, Well,
And I mean that with all respect.
I love him to death, but I'm not going to wear an upside down mayor.
There you go.
thing.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
There you
just
go.
not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that hat. You should have brought one for all of us. Whoa.
I think what I admire about him is his passion for this city, and whether you agree with everything he says or not, he's passionate about it, and he comes from a good place. He's a marketing machine. I would say that would probably be something I have to work on a little bit more for myself. Because as a cop, I would, you don't,
You're saying that you don't
you're
want to
in
be
the
out
background.
front.
Yeah. But I'm not afraid to do it. So it may not be to the Brian McNeil level of, marketing or media, but it'll be, I'll be doing it.
We'll get you a stylist.
Yes.
Well, if
Yes.
only you knew somebody that does marketing, like QBallDesign.com.
Hired.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But he's just passionate about things, and I worked for a police chief that was almost exactly like him. And so, there would be some days where I'd pull my hair out, which you can clearly see.
That's what happened. Hey,
That's what happened.
You got more than me.
Yeah.
We're wearing hats.
But you come across leaders that are visionaries, and he had a vision, and he was very dogged about carrying out his vision, and I admired that. And so I was like, I'm all about it. Whatever I can do to help. So yeah, that's the thing.
Well, this has been good. This
Yeah,
is really good.
I
Glad you
enjoyed
could
it.
make it.
Yeah.
Great to talk to you. Great to meet you.
Yeah, very nice to meet y'all. Thank you.
Exactly. Good luck in the
Yeah.
in the campaign
Coming up.
Yeah.
May 2nd is May 2nd is election day, right?
Yeah, but we have early voting April 20th through the 28th. We had a successful meet and greet last night in Sonoma Verde, and we'll be having Monday night. Republican Women's is having a deal with all the candidates to come out and talk for like 3 or 4
We're
minutes.
actually hosting
Yeah,
that.
we're going to be doing a
I'll
live
see you there.
podcast where
Yeah.
Jay's going to be pulling his hair out.
So we'll have you there at the table again.
Yes,
we'll do it again.
exactly. And then Tuesday, I'll be doing a coffee and conversation at 5013 there in Heath. This will be probably the last time we do a coffee there, because McLendon-Chisholm is getting its own coffee shop that'll be opened April 20th, 1776.
Wow.
So
very cool.
yeah.
On the 250th anniversary there, 1776.
Yeah. And so, and then next Thursday, just coming up Thursday, we'll be doing another meet and greet at the Kensington Church of Christ. And it's just for folks who didn't make it out to Sonoma Verde. If they want to come in, we'll have Dennis London there. Mike Hermanson is another great guy. He's running for my old seat. Young business guy, is about to have a baby, and he's very excited about that. Very common sense about things. And so it's an opportunity. We're trying to give as many opportunities for people to come out and see us, and on top of the fact that we go to them and knock on doors and stuff like that.
And if you come to the Church of Christ one, don't bring an instrument.
Yes.
I just remind everybody.
Were you Church of Christ ever?
No, I actually grew up Disciples of Christ, which is a break off of Church of Christ.
And y'all were allowed to.
One of the reasons was they wanted instruments.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's nutty. Not that we need to go that path. That's for another podcast. Yeah. We'll go into depth on Billy's Disciples of Christ childhood. Jerry, it's great to meet you. I'm so glad you could come.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Thank y'all.
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet.
Maybe if I am elected, I'll come back later.
Yes, definitely.
And
Come on.
we'll just
We'd
talk
love
about
that.
stuff.
We actually want to do a Rockwall County Mayor's Roundtable.
Oh,
if we
there
could
you
get
go.
all the
That'd be
mayors
great.
that could, sit around and kind of discuss things.
You just give me a few months though, because I gotta,
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Find your footing.
yeah.
And we know Tanya has plans, so
Yes.
she'll get you in
and
shape.
I would suggest I'd reach out to her, because she's been on Discovery ID and stuff.
Would
on
love
case.
that.
She's
Wow.
she did the last federal death penalty case.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, there you go, Jay.
She's
That is
like I said, she's
Get
pretty.
the booking.
I don't mind
book her.
saying she's pretty much a legend within the Department of Justice.
That is
So,
outstanding. That's
yeah.
good. Okay.
That is very
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Jerry, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.